and welcome. I'm Sarah Vance, nutritionist, author of The Perfect Metabolism Plan, and your host for the Metabolism Summit, an event featuring the top functional and naturopathic medicine doctors, nutritionists, fitness experts, and influencers in the industry. Because achieving optimal health is not about eating less, exercising more, or cutting calories. The real secret is to heal the metabolism at the core. And today we have Dr. Ameet Aggarwal joining us all the way from Kenya to share how detoxing the liver can restore harmony to energy and emotions. Dr. Aggarwal, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. It's been a pleasure working with you. So let's do this.
Yes. Well, before we get into this, let me just take a moment to introduce you to everybody listening. Dr. Ameet Aggarwal from Kenya combines naturopathic medicine and energy psychology to help people heal both their mind and their body at the same time. He believes both need to happen for optimal health. He's the author of the book Feel Good, a guide to treating anxiety and depression using both holistic medicine and energy psychology. He's lectured around the world teaching people how to recover from illness by treating both their mind and bodies holistically and positively. He also runs mobile clinics for remote communities in Kenya through his charity, FIM Africa, and supervised students and doctors from around the world who volunteer with him on these mobile clinics. His combination of Gestalt psychology, naturopathic medicine, energy psychology, family constellation therapy, and EMDR trauma work gives patients a comprehensive approach to treating the root cause. He's also developing an online course to help people treat anxiety and depression holistically. And he treats people via Skype. You can find his book and other information at drameet.com. So Dr. Ameet, thank you for being here and all the work that you're doing to help people and your charity.
Thanks, Sarah, as well. Yeah, it's been a pleasure working with people, right? Because they teach you a lot about how the body works and how the mind works and how to put it together, right?
Yes.
And also the summit that you're doing is looking at all the different organs that are involved with metabolism. So I think we're going to learn a lot here. Yes.
Well, and since you practice Gestalt psychology, I kind of wanted to start there. I think it's really fascinating. I actually put a little section of this in my book about how the metabolism is very like that. You know, the Gestalt theory, for those that don't know, is and this is just a very simplistic feature of it, but one of the quotes is the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And I think that's so true of metabolism as a whole. It relies on so many different systems in the body working together, our detoxification channels, our hormones, digestion. And if one of those gets out of balance, it can bring our whole metabolism down. Even our emotions can be a factor in this. And so that's, you know, one of the things I kind of wanted to maybe have you touch on initially is how you bring that into your practice.
Great. Okay. So you're right to say that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, right? Because when people go through, for example, something like trauma, the emotional experience of the trauma affects their adrenal system, their brain function, and puts them in a stress response. Now, when people go for treatment for anxiety and depression, and they only focus on the adrenal glands or they take an antidepressant, then that is just one part of the picture, right? However, you have to also look at the cause, like the trauma. The experience has to be resolved in order for the adrenal glands to break free from the stress response, right? So it's really looking at the whole picture, right? And seeing that the whole picture depends on multiple factors. And you can not only target one factor at a time, you have to bring it together and understand how they're all interacting. The emotions, the adrenal glands, leaky gut syndrome, as well as liver toxicity.
Well, and the liver is what we're really going to be focusing on today, because it's really, you know, the toxins, it's really becoming assaulted by all of these toxins, not only just in our foods, in our environment, but emotional toxins that we're carrying around. And the liver is really what they call the general of the army, and as far as our detoxification channels. And it's also one of the areas that, you know, our emotions are very connected to, right?
Yeah, the liver is definitely connected to emotions because it controls so many functions in the body, Sarah, from hormone production. So it affects your progesterone levels, estrogen levels, and testosterone levels, which are directly related to anxiety and depression. Your liver is also involved in sugar balance and sugar storage. And so if you have low blood sugar or an insulin problem, then you're going to get these bouts of anxiety, right, when you are hypoglycemic. Your liver also activates enzymes in your digestive system. So if it's not working well, you're not digesting your food properly, you're going to be deficient in a lot of nutrients, or you're not going to absorb the nutrients properly, right? And when that happens, of course, you don't make the right neurotransmitters in your body to improve your mood. And there's many other factors, like it detoxifies drugs and toxins. So if your liver's sluggish, detoxifying well, you'll be more into inflammation. And as we know, inflammation and leaky gut syndrome affect your brain chemicals, your hormones, as well as cortisol levels. So it's a real synergy that happens throughout your body, from the adrenal system, leaky gut, and your liver, which affects your emotions.
Well, now that you're describing it, it just sounds so central to our metabolism as well as our mental health.
It's really the core organ that I treat in my practice, along with digestive health and leaky gut syndrome. The liver has to be treated.
Tell me how you combine your psychotherapy more with the naturopathic medicine in your practice.
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Well, so I use Gestalt therapy and family constellations. So a lot of people have gone through trauma and stressful emotional experiences in their life. Now, just like your vision is a function of your eyes, right? And hearing is a function of your ears. So emotions are really a sense of some part of your body. And when there's something wrong with your body, your emotions will shift, right? Either it's too many toxins, neurotransmitter imbalance, or even a hormonal imbalance. And the opposite, or the other way around, is also true, Sarah. When you stare at strong lights for too long, right, it'll affect your eyes quality. If you hear loud sounds all the time, your ears will get damaged. In the same way, if you hear a lot of negative thoughts, you're around a stressful environment, something in your body will start breaking down, right? You'll feel more stressed, you'll lose energy, and you'll become more sluggish. So it's very important to release these stressful emotions that have happened in your life. Yeah, these negative beliefs you've created from trauma. And I do that using Gestalt psychotherapy. When we release the emotions using counseling, the body begins to recover slowly. The adrenal glands feel less stressed. And that's the time now you can also build up the adrenal glands using naturopathic medicine. So we use herbs such as rhodiola, ashwagandha, or a nice B vitamin complex. However, one has to keep in mind that when you're using nutrition to build up the adrenal glands or to detoxify the liver, we have to resolve the emotional trauma, because if we don't resolve the trauma, subconsciously your body remains in a stress state and continues to, press on or stress the organs within you. Does that make sense?
It does. Are there some techniques that you would recommend for the listeners that they could use themselves just kind of on their own to help release some of this?
Absolutely. So there's worldwide, it's quite famous, is emotional freedom technique. I find that extremely effective. It's a tapping technique where you tap on certain points on your wrist as well as on your face and your collarbones. And you say empowering sentences while tapping at these points. And you also speak about the trauma that you're feeling or the anxiety that you're feeling. And a lot of people are feeling a huge shift using EFT, emotional freedom technique. Then the other technique I teach students or people is positive thinking, right? It comes from positive psychology. Every morning when you wake up, think of everything that went well for you the previous day. And when you go to bed, think about what went well for you during that day. What that does, Sarah, is it actually rewires your brain using what we call neuroplasticity. So that, imagine in the morning, you see your body's designed to anticipate a threat. So if you're having a stressful time in your life, you're going to wake up and anticipate threat. So you're going to think negatively and stress yourself out even more. With this exercise, by thinking positively, your brain gets used to expecting or thinking about positive experiences, right? So it actually prepares itself for happier times. So in that way, you let go of traumatic memory from the limbic brain using this exercise.
I love that. I think it's, yes, I mean, just turning on the positive thoughts in our brain and trying to, quiet down the negative talk is massive. I think it's huge. We could all do more of that.
Yeah, I think we really need to take care of our minds while we're taking care of our bodies, right? It's prime. Meditation, breathing exercises. Exercise is also very important because exercise is like a fight or flight response. So your brain freezes, right, when it goes through trauma. And exercise gives the body an impression that it's actually recovering or fleeing away from trauma. And so there's actually a recovery feeling that happens during exercise, and that discharges subconscious stress.
Well, and you see that in animals too. Animals that are not getting enough exercise, their stress builds up. And so, they can release a lot of stress just by exercising.
Yeah, we definitely need to include exercise in any therapy that we choose.
So let's get into the liver, because I know we were going to be talking about that, and I think it's so connected to the metabolism and so important, as well as our emotions. But let's talk about how the liver is related to and affects our digestion.
Okay. So your liver basically processes everything that you absorb from your intestines. There's blood vessels around your intestines which absorb the food, and all that goes into your liver through the portal vein, and it's processed there. And then it's spread around the body. So that's one way it's related to digestion and absorption. However, the second thing, which is I find the most fundamental to digestion, is the liver's production of a liquid called bile. So the liver produces bile, which is made of special salts which break down fats. And so your liver is needed to break down fats so they're properly absorbed. And as you know, a lot of vitamins need fat to be absorbed. The liver also has salts in it which activate enzymes coming from your pancreas and from your digestive system. And so if your liver is sluggish, it's not working well because of too many toxins, then the amount of bile released is much less, which means that you will digest fat less. So you'll absorb fat-soluble vitamins less. Less bile also means that you'll activate enzymes less. Right? So your entire digestion suffers when your liver is compromised. And the other important thing to note is when bile, which is produced by your liver, actually lubricates your stool. And with less bile, there's a lot of sticky stool. So most people who are constipated, they actually have a liver issue. And the problem is a lot of these people will take laxatives. However, they never treat the liver, and they become laxative dependent. Now, when you treat your liver and you get the bile flowing and you detoxify your body and reduce inflammation, everything self-corrects itself, right? Because you've treated the root cause, which is the master organ. It's a vicious cycle. And the key thing is when there's not enough bile and more constipation, of course, you get more toxic buildup in your intestines, which causes more damage in your intestines and more leaky gut syndrome.
And then the side effect of all of this is that, a couple of decades of this down the road, our gallbladder is no longer working because the gallbladder plays a role in this as well. And so, then the gallbladder comes out, right?
Yeah. So the gallbladder, what happens is a lot of people get gallstones because of high cholesterol levels and basically high inflammation. And so the key thing is to keep inflammation down in the body, have a lot of antioxidants, minimize bad cholesterol development through eating the right foods, and then you won't have so many gallbladder problems.
Yeah, and they do work together very closely. Now, let's talk about get a little bit more into this area of inflammation and leaky gut and food sensitivities and how that's impacting our liver.
How does inflammation impact the liver?
And eating foods that we're sensitive to.
Okay, so a lot of people talk about leaky gut nowadays, right? And food sensitivity. So when you eat the wrong type of foods, especially like gluten and dairy, that creates an inflammatory process in your body. Inflammation means a lot of chemical reactions. And a lot of chemical reactions that take place in your blood, and they create toxins. Inflammation also happens within the liver itself. So that creates damage to the liver tissues. Now, with inflammation going on throughout your body and your blood, a lot of toxins are produced which have to be processed by the liver. And remember that the liver is also suffering because of oxidative damage, meaning damage caused by free radicals caused by inflammation. So when the liver suffers because of this damage, it produces less bile, right? And it detoxifies the body less. When that happens, now all your organs become more toxic and more sluggish. So your adrenal glands suffer, your thyroid suffers, so you'll get hormonal imbalances. Also, what happens is inflammation upsets your cortisol levels. And when cortisol is imbalanced, it affects serotonin, GABA, dopamine, and melatonin, which then starts causing anxiety and depression. So you can see how inflammation from the gut then compromises liver function, right?
Yes.
And the thing is, when the liver is compromised, that means less detoxification, right? And when you detoxify less, you have more toxins in your body, so inflammation actually increases. You know what I mean? It's a vicious cycle all over again. If your liver is not working, any inflammation that you're trying to control by, removing inflammatory foods, it doesn't help as much because you have to get the liver working as well to reduce inflammation.
Yes, such a vicious cycle. And I just get this picture in my mind about how everything is so connected with our metabolism, and, that our mental health is connected to all these metabolic processes. And so really foundationally, we have to kind of detoxify and heal at the organ levels to heal everything.
It's funny you mentioned that, actually, Sarah, that our emotions also affect, our mental thoughts affect our organs. And a very interesting observation by some people is, when you breathe, when you breathe properly, your diaphragm goes up and down fully. And that actually massages your liver and helps the detoxification process. Now, stressed people, they breathe a bit more shallow, right? So when they breathe shallow, they actually only use the upper part of their lungs. And that's why stressed people get tight shoulders. Now, the problem with that is that when you're only breathing with the upper part of your lungs, your diaphragm is not moving fully. And if your diaphragm is not moving fully, your liver will not be detoxified or massaged well enough. And so it's a common term to see in Chinese medicine that stress affects the liver. Stress causes liver qi, which is energy, qi stagnation. So really, deep breathing can actually help you heal your liver.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of the Buteyko method, but I have another speaker on the summit. I encourage you to listen in to that and look into it. It's about, the importance of breathing, not mouth breathing through the nose. And I know that's very common in yoga and things like that, to really do the majority of our breathing through our nasal cavity and all the benefits of that. So I think that'll tie well into that interview. So let's talk a little bit about, what does it mean to have a sluggish liver? You've mentioned a couple of symptoms, things like constipation, and, it's one of those tough things because we may not necessarily know we've got it or connect these symptoms to our liver, right?
Absolutely. So first of all, liver stagnation means that the enzymes, the process in the liver, not working too well, yeah? Because the liver has a lot of enzymatic process and detoxification. Now, when the liver is not working properly, because it controls all your hormones and a lot of functions in your body, you'll notice things like hormonal imbalances, especially PMS. So in Chinese medicine, when somebody has a sluggish liver or liver qi stagnation, they will be prone to PMS symptoms, breast tenderness, clotting, maybe migraines during their menses. What else? Irregular periods or painful cramps, yeah? Mm-hmm. Irritability is another big sign of a stagnant liver. So you'll notice people who use a lot of alcohol or who are stressed become very irritable. And in Chinese medicine, there's a direct connection between that emotion and the liver. Once you start detoxifying the liver, you'll notice levels of irritability will go down. Gas and bloating. Gas and bloating basically means poor digestion and less bile in the system. So that is another sign to look at when you see a toxic liver. And then insomnia. A lot of people who have trouble sleeping or wake up in the middle of night, especially between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning, that's a sign, according to the Chinese medicine clock, that the liver is out of balance.
And how about floating stools? Because that a lot of times tells us we're not absorbing and digesting our fats properly. Would that be a sign of a liver?
Absolutely, yeah. So you'll see fatty stool because you're not breaking down the fats. And generally just irregular stool, instead of it only being about food sensitivities and inflammation, I'll often treat the liver as well because there's a sign that the liver is not working when you have a regular stool or a difficult stool. Yeah, so some people don't realize they're constipated. They think, oh, if I go once every 2 days, it's fine. Or if I drink a lot of water or I have my coffee and I go, then I'm fine. But no, if they don't have their coffee and they don't drink water or they don't eat a lot of fiber, then they'll end up not going well, right? So that's a sign for me to say that the liver is still compromised because they need this extra help to get their stool moving. Right? So people who need a helper to get their bowels moving, it means they need to heal their liver.
That's so powerful. Tell me a little bit, you talked a bit already about adrenal fatigue and anxiety. Tell me make that connection for us about how the liver can contribute to that.
How adrenal fatigue is connected to the liver is basically when people are stressed or anxious or depressed, it often is a cause of adrenal fatigue. And with adrenal fatigue, basically cortisol levels are imbalanced, which affects your brain chemicals. Now, how the liver ties into this is that when the liver is sluggish, it detoxifies less. And when there's more toxins in your body, inflammation is higher. When inflammation is higher, your adrenal glands have to produce more cortisol to manage the inflammation. Now, your adrenal glands are already fatigued, right, from burnout. And when there's a higher demand for cortisol, they burn out even more, right? So that's how the liver contributes to adrenal fatigue. The other way, of course, is when your liver is sluggish, you are digesting your food less. So you're not absorbing enough nutrients to support or re-nourish your adrenal system. So it's all interconnected. And then also what happens is when your liver is sluggish, you see your liver helps convert your thyroid hormone into the active form. And with a sluggish liver, the active form of your thyroid hormone is in smaller amounts, so your metabolism is compromised. When your metabolism is compromised, your adrenal glands have to work much harder, and they burn out much faster as well that way.
Yeah, and you had mentioned earlier the role of the liver in detoxifying the sex hormones. Can you touch on that real briefly as well? Because I think that's such a big one. I think a lot of times, we have these hormonal imbalances, and maybe the first thing we should do is clean up the liver.
Exactly. So a lot of women who experience PMS symptoms, they usually have a progesterone deficiency and estrogen dominance. And the liver is the master organ for your hormones, right? So we have to correct liver imbalance when treating hormones. And then a lot of people who are on the birth control pill or any other medications, it compromises liver function. And with a compromised liver function, they continue to compromise it further by continuing on these hormonal pills, right? So it's really hard to correct until they agree to come off some of these pills or just support the liver while taking some of these medications.
I think one of the most amazing things about the liver is what a resilient organ it is. I mean, we've talked about a lot of these things that can, impact our liver and really so many different things that the liver is responsible for detoxifying. But it's one of the most amazing organs that it can literally regenerate itself, right?
Yeah, it's a beautiful organ, especially when you give it the right antioxidants and the right herbs. It really takes care of itself.
Let's talk a little bit about that. What are some of the ways that we can detoxify our liver, and then just generally things that we can do to support it ongoing?
Okay, so let's start with the basics, Sarah. First thing is eating right? So removing inflammatory foods is key first, right? So that's the gluten, the dairy, if you're sensitive to those, and look at other food sensitivities. When you remove inflammatory foods, there's less inflammation, so less damage to the liver. Secondly is increasing the amount of fiber, so green vegetables. When you have more fiber, you pull out toxins more out of your body through your stool. And so that protects your liver. Okay. The next step is to have more bitter greens. Bitter foods actually stimulates more bile flow and more detoxification from your liver. So have things like rocket and just bitter foods like bitter gourd, because that'll stimulate bile flow. And that's the basics. Then, because your liver detoxifies a lot, it's exposed to a lot of toxic damage, free radical damage. So it needs high levels of antioxidants. So what you need to do is have things like berries and vitamin A, E, C, all these, and alpha lipoic acid, CoQ10. These are all supplements you can have to protect liver from oxidative damage. And then I also use beautiful herbs, milk thistle, dandelion, artichoke leaf. These are fantastic herbs that protect the liver. So they actually stimulate regeneration of liver cells, and they stimulate the liver to detoxify itself. So that's the basic in terms of nutrition and herbs. Then I also specialize in homeopathy, and there's fantastic remedies, homeopathic remedies, to help support your liver. And the main ones that I use is something called Nux vomica, and it's great for hangovers as well. And lycopodium is a fantastic liver remedy as well. And two or three others are phosphorus, china, and chelidonium. So these are homeopathic forms, and depending on the unique symptoms of the patient, I'll use a specific homeopathic remedy. Nux vomica is great for people who have constipation, for example, especially when their stool is like little sheep balls.
And is that something that you would have people take daily or based on symptoms?
Okay, so the remedies are based on symptoms, right? Of course, the diet, the fiber, the high antioxidant foods and stuff, that's a daily routine. The homeopathic remedies depends on the symptoms that if they are suffering, because I don't want to make the body dependent on supplements and herbs and things, right? Right. I would say if you're symptom-free, I generally would recommend a liver detox every 3 months. Just do a bottle of milk thistle complex or something with milk thistle, dandelion, and artichoke leaves in there, just to stimulate the liver to regenerate itself. And turmeric is also a great herb, by the way. Turmeric is very protective to the liver. So I'll often add turmeric to my cooking.
Yeah, and it adds that beautiful color, the yellow, rich color to it. You had mentioned artichoke. Yeah. That's one of my favorite remedies also for cholesterol. Can you talk a little bit about the link between the liver and our cholesterol levels?
Yeah, so basically your liver is in control of your sugar metabolism and fat storage, right? And so it really controls your cholesterol metabolism as well. And when your liver is compromised, of course, you're going to make imbalanced levels of LDL, HDL, and triglycerides. And when your body is in an inflamed state, there's a lot of damage going on in your blood vessels and different areas of your body. So your liver has to produce more LDL in order to repair the damage. So what we got to do to help manage cholesterol levels is not only depend on statin drugs, of course, is to really repair the liver and reduce inflammation.
Yeah, I love the thistle plant. There's such beautiful plants, milk thistle and artichoke. When they bloom, they're just the colors, and they're such amazing, beautiful, beautiful plants.
It's true, right? Nature's good for us. It gives us beauty and medicine in the same package.
Exactly. So I know you had mentioned exercise before. That's an interesting one. What about castor oil packs? Is that something you like for liver?
Yeah, so castor oil packs is a common way of detoxifying the liver. What you do is, so your liver's on your right side underneath your right rib. And what I recommend patients do is rub castor oil. Try and get organic castor oil, of course. Rub it over your right rib cage. So just underneath the right nipple of your right breast, up down to the edge of your ribs. And then place a white cloth on there, a very thin white cloth, and then a hot water bottle. The heat drives the castor oil in through the liver and flushes the liver out. And what that does, it softens your stool. It helps with constipation. But I never do it. I never recommend it during menses. So if somebody's menstruating, they should not do the castor oil pack because there's too much flow. Then you lose too much blood. And then the research is not clear whether castor oil packs are okay to use during cancer and metastasis as well. So one has to be careful around that time.
And probably pregnancy as well.
And pregnancy as well, absolutely. And overgrowth of skin, yeah, definitely. And if you're getting too many loose stools because of the castor oil packs, of course, you have to cut back on it.
Okay.
And you generally leave the castor oil pack on for about an hour. So you do it when you go to bed, and then after an hour, just take it off.
Okay. That's something I've never tried, but I'm interested to try it. I think I will give that a try.
Yeah, it has a very calming effect.
Nice. You also find acupuncture beneficial as well. I love acupuncture. My entire family goes to acupuncture, including my two kids who are, they started when they were fairly young.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about how acupuncture can support our liver.
Okay. Acupuncture is one of my favorite remedies. Mm-hmm. So acupuncture is based on putting needles in certain points on your body. And each of these points connects to an emotion or an organ and helps that organ function better or detoxify better. And so most acupuncturists will often treat the liver during a normal acupuncture session because the liver stores, regulates the control of chi, of energy throughout your body a lot. So there's a common point on your foot between your large toe and the second toe, just behind the web of that toe junction. That's called liver 3. It's given a number, and it's the master point for the liver. And you have other points, your rib cage and different points of your leg that either can cool down too much heat in your liver or can stimulate the flow of blood through your liver. So a lot of people with menstrual issues or depression, anxiety, they definitely need their liver treated, as well as your adrenal glands in the kidneys. So acupuncture takes care of all these organs in a very synergistic way.
Yeah, I love that word synergistic because that's what Chinese medicine is. That's what functional medicine is. That's what our metabolism needs, is all of these synergies coming together and working together.
Exactly, Sarah. Like there's too much isolation of organs going on in common medical paradigms. And that's creating a blockage in another system. When you only focus on one organ and the other organ is ignored, it creates an imbalance, right? So heat or toxins build up in one area while you're trying to free up the other area. You just keep on repeating treatment after treatment after treatment. When you use a synergistic approach, everything rebalances itself, right? And you don't need medication anymore after that.
Yeah. Margaret Gerson said the quote about when the body heals, it heals, the whole body heals. I'm just sure I'm messing it up, but it's when you use foods and these natural approaches, you heal everything together, and that's what the body's needing. Tell me a little bit about, I know you practice something called Bowen Body Therapy. What is that?
Bowen is it's a therapy from Australia, started in Australia. It's one of the strangest therapies I've ever learned, and I find it one of the best treatments for chronic pain, actually. So you just make small rolling moves over different muscle points and different acupressure points, and you leave the body for 2 minutes. What happens is the body actually starts resetting itself. So compensated compensated areas in your body due to muscle tension or stored emotions start letting go. After 2 minutes, they come back and do another move. And you repeat this process for about an hour. Yeah, depending on the symptoms or the condition, you choose different areas to stimulate. And then you leave. Then the next treatment, you can only repeat after 5 to 8 days, because in that gap, the body is actually shifting on its own. So it's a very deep self-healing therapy. Yeah, the body starts taking over the healing metabolism, the healing mechanism. And why that's powerful is because your body has an innate knowledge of how to heal itself, right? So when you cut yourself, for example, the wound will heal on its own because your body knows what to do. And Bowen therapy facilitates that healing process. Very powerful.
I love that. I think, that's such a powerful statement that the body really does have this innate ability and drive to reach this state of homeostasis. And, if we can understand where these symptoms are coming from and just support the body holistically, it can heal in many instances.
Completely, Sarah. And even with the mind, right? I mean, if somebody's having a bad day and you give them a hug, suddenly they'll feel better. You don't have to give them instructions, okay, smile now. Automatically, the body lets go of stuff and comes to a better state of itself. The mind comes to a better state. Because literally your mind and body it's an innate ability to heal itself. It's a natural intelligence we have built into us. Life has it built into itself for its automatic survival.
So I think another one, Dr. Aggarwal, is the B vitamins. I know that they are so important in liver function. And one of the issues is there's so many ways that we're getting depleted, especially things like B6, when we take hormones or contraceptives, that depletes vitamin B6. And again, that we see that a lot of times in gallbladder trouble.
Yeah, so vitamin B6 is extremely important for a lot of function in your body, especially for the creation of neurotransmitters. And people on the birth control pill and excessive alcohol, too much caffeine, and just toxins, B6 is depleted from the body. And then people suffer from more adrenal fatigue, as well as more anxiety and depression and compromised detoxification processes, right? Because B vitamins are extremely important to enhance liver detoxification.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that we haven't touched on today in our discussion? I mean, well, of course, there's many, many things. But was there any final thoughts you wanted to leave before we moved from the liver? Because I wanted to ask you about your charity work.
So when I was in Canada, I had a dream of returning to Kenya and doing mobile clinics in remote communities. And so I wrote a book to help fund this, and I'm still working on promoting the book. Basically, I go out to remote areas that don't have medical services, and I supervise students and doctors from around the world who come and volunteer with me. And we go and treat these people with mainly homeopathy. And now what I'm doing is I'm fundraising to help get books and teaching material, because I want to educate doctors in these remote areas and any healthcare workers and nurses to use integrated medicine, to use simple tools like homeopathy and diet and nutrition to protect the immunity of these people, right? Because a lot of people in remote villages, if they do get medicines, it's mostly antibiotics and antimalarials. Of course, antimalarials are needed. However, sometimes antibiotics are overprescribed in a lot of these areas. So you'll see children with chronic infections and eye infections just because their immune system has been compromised from poor use of medication. So I really want to help these people have a more integrated approach to healthcare.
So now you founded this charity, or was this charity already in place and you joined up with them? Or I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
It was actually myself and a group of naturopathic doctors. We founded it together in Canada, and it operates in Kenya. So yeah, it was just a stroke of good luck, found the right people to help support, create this charity. Then I moved back to Kenya and I started doing this part-time, and then working full-time in Nairobi and Skyping around the world.
That's so amazing.
And yeah, I'm looking to actually sell 1 million copies of my book, hopefully one day, and just self-fund this mobile clinics full-time, because I think this medicine needs to go out to these areas as well, right?
So your book, Feel Good, is that the book you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the book I'm talking about. I wrote it. It's a combined approach to treating anxiety and depression and a lot of other therapies by healing emotions, as well as treating the liver, the digestive system, and the adrenal system, holistic through naturopathic medicine.
Well, it sounds like an amazing book, and your charity sounds wonderful. If there are people that want to donate or get involved or be a part of this, can you tell them where they can go?
Yeah, thanks for this opportunity, Sarah. Yeah. So the website is FIM Africa. That's Foundation Integrated Medicine Africa.org. People can donate through there. And then on my website, drameet.com, drameet.com. There's a link to the book, and the more books people buy from Amazon, then the more chance we have of doing more mobile clinics. So I'd appreciate it either way. It would be a blessing. Thank you.
Well, that sounds like a pretty good deal. You could get all this great information from your book, and you're helping all these people in Kenya get medical care, and such good medical care as that in that.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I hope it takes off and sustains itself well enough.
How long have you been doing this?
I came back to Kenya in about 2008. And so I ran it for a couple of years straight. And then I had to take a break just because I had to work full-time in Nairobi. And I'm going back now. I'm planning to do some fundraising and promote the book. And with enough funding, then we'll continue it. So I'll be doing we'll be doing one in April. I have a bunch of students coming from Rome. And I'll do it just more often now with more and more students coming down.
Oh, good. Well, keep me posted. I'd love to stay in touch and hear how everything's going, and if there's any way we can support. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. I'll send you pictures.
Please do. Tell me a little bit more about Kenya. I've never been there, and I'd love to go sometime.
Oh, you gotta come. It's magic. Really, it's magic. I mean, it's what you see in the movies, right? It's stunning scenery, perfect weather, and it's a mixture of course, poverty and wealth and corruption. There's all other sides to it as well. However, when you're here, you're alive. You're on your toes. It's survival, right? And it's the wildlife you see. It's the animals you see as well. It's all about survival. And you'll see some amazing things out here, right? Like elephants bathing in a river, palm trees bordering the river, and then lions hunting, cheetahs hiding in the grass. It's primitive life happening right in front of you.
That's amazing.
It's magical. Come, you're most welcome. Let me know.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Aggarwal. Thank you for being here today and for all that you do in Kenya and beyond.
Thank you, Sarah. And one thing I'd like to mention is that we're actually running health retreats here in Africa, combining all the Gestalt therapy, the psychotherapy I do with naturopathic medicine. So if anyone's stressed or burnt out or wants to combine yoga and a safari, they're welcome to get in touch with me.
Oh, you run safaris where you practice, and that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's like a health retreat safari combination.
Very cool. And that information's on drameet.com?
Yep, it's all there.
Good. Well, I encourage everyone to head on over there and get a copy of Feel Good and learn a little bit more about what Dr. Ameet's doing. I'm your host, Sarah Vance. Thank you, everyone, for listening in today to the Metabolism Summit. I hope this information can help support you in your journey to reclaim your energy and vitality.